Hey everyone, 2023 has been an interesting year for Rivian Automotive. And in fact, 2023 has been an interesting year for the electric vehicle industry. Given all that, it's surprising to see that Rivian stock is flat for the year. It's down 1%. That's surprising given all the volatility, the ups and downs that Rivian experienced throughout 2023. But more importantly, is Rivian a good investment for 2024? That's the question I'm going to address in this video, looking at the company's revenue, its cash flow, profitability, and valuation. And I'll also take a broader look at the electric vehicle industry and its prospects and how Rivian fits into that. So I'll do all that in this video and answer if I think Rivian is an excellent investment for 2024. So let's jump right in.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
I mentioned earlier the volatility that Rivian has experienced in 2023. Look at the stock price chart here for year-to-date return performance in 2023. The stock price was down as much as 30-something% to begin the year in the first three and a half months. Then it jumped all the way up to being up by nearly 40% on the year, from down 35 to up 45, right? Look at that big swing. And then it fell back down to being down about 15%, and now it's flat, down just 1.36%. So all that volatility for Rivian stock, and it's relatively flat. In fact, that volatility is a risk factor for Rivian stock investors. You can lose as much as 35% of your value in Rivian stock in a short amount of time, but also you can gain a significant increase in valuation in a short amount of time too. That's one of the characteristics of Rivian stock that you've got to understand if you're interested, and I'm sure you already understand if you're interested in Rivian stock. Another thing is the company is expanding, growing production, growing deliveries, and increasing sales quickly. 3.78 billion in revenue in the trailing 12 months. That was up from about 500 million in the trailing 12 months around September of 2022, as the company has started increasing production. Around 25,000 units it produced in 2022. That increased to about 54,000 before the year will end in 2023. My current estimates are that Rivian will produce between 65,000 and 75,000 units in 2024. I haven't seen concrete predictions for 2024 from Rivian management. If you have and I've missed it, please comment where you got that information below so that I can take a look at it. But from what I've followed from Rivian management and their conference calls and their investor presentations, I haven't seen a concrete outlook for production in 2024. I've seen some estimates talking about between 65,000 and 80,000 units produced in 2024. I would project on the lower end given the slowing growth in the EV market, which I'll touch on in a little bit. But given those forecasts, I would touch on, let's say 70,000 units produced in 2024, which would be an increase of about 20% from the 54,000 units produced in 2023. So still nice growth from Rivian, and that's expected to continue for the next several years, perhaps all the way through 2030, given that according to Statista, between 2022 and 2028, the size of the EV market is expected to grow from around 539 billion in 2022 in annual spending, all the way up to 906 billion in annual spending by 2028. So the EV market is growing because of strong government incentives worldwide. Governments worldwide are incentivizing consumers to switch over to electric vehicles, and that's giving the growth of the industry. Now, it's not organic, right? Consumers, if they had a choice, more than 9 out of 10 consumers are choosing an internal combustion engine. More than 9 out of 10. And if you exclude California, I've talked about California, the most popular EV market in the US, that number is even stronger in favor of internal combustion engine vehicles. But because of the government incentives, because of government regulations and government mandates, it's switching over to electric vehicles. Now, that being said, I don't want investors to become complacent and think it's automatic that the transition is a foregone conclusion. Governments have been known to change their mind. They've been known to change deadlines, remove deadlines, extend deadlines. So don't put your money at risk counting on the government to do what it said, okay? I've seen a lot of investors lose a lot of money because of that, right? It could be that a new administration comes in the US in 2024, especially if it's a Republican administration, and scraps the rules that the Biden administration rolled out and says, you know what, all those EV mandates, let's rule those out. Let's push them out. Let's delay them. Let's change them. And then what will you do if you've invested counting on that fact? So don't rely on that. That's the direction it's going. That's where it's likely to go, but it's not a foregone conclusion, okay? Just keep that in mind. The next thing to consider is Rivian's operating profit margin over the trailing 12 months. It's generating massive losses on the bottom line, negative 157% in the most recent trailing 12 months. The good news is that it is making progress on this front. You can see that nice upward trending chart. Used to generate significantly more losses, over 1,000% negative profit margin. It's improving, although it's a long way to go before the company is profitable on the bottom line. Management is projecting that in the fourth quarter of 2024, by the fourth quarter of 2024, it will have a positive gross profit margin. It's a long way from the gross profit margin to the bottom line. And so there's little or no chance of Rivian being positive profit on the bottom line in 2024, and the prospects are not looking good for 2025, but it is heading in the right direction, and that's good news for Rivian stock investors. And a similar story for cash flow from operations, but it only recently turned in the right direction. It's not similar to operating profit margin where it was just making nice strides forward for the last 2 years. It only recently hit that inflection point where it was starting to make strides towards bringing these losses down. But still, in the most recent trailing 12-month period, $5.2 billion of cash that it lost in operations. That's a big number. That's a lot of money that's going out of the business that will likely continue for a little while longer, at least until the company expands production, reaches a much larger scale than where it's at now. So with all that money being lost, I wanted to take a look at its balance sheet, and Rivian has $9.1 billion in cash and $2.7 billion in long-term debt. So it is in a nice position in terms of the balance sheet. It had $18 billion at one point, and now it has burned through half of that. It's got only $9 billion now. Rivian was fortunate in that it benefited from that frenzy when everyone wanted to invest in EV stocks in 2020 and 2021. And so it was able to raise nearly $20 billion in cash from investors. And now it's using that to increase capacity, to increase production, but it's burning through billions of dollars trying to get to a sustainable position. Finally, I wanted to look at valuation. Rivian is trading at a forward price to sales of 2.782, which is down significantly. Used to trade at a forward price to sales of 80, and this is when there was that frenzy for EV stocks. I was arguing it never should have been this expensive to begin with, but that's in the past. We're talking about 2024 now, and at a valuation of 2.782, I still wouldn't say Rivian stock is cheap. I still wouldn't say that it's a bargain. It's still expensive considering that you're paying for a company that's still burning billions of dollars on the bottom line, and it's pretty much saying that it's going to be the same thing for 2024. It's going to go through billions of dollars. It's not going to generate any profit, but it is hitting milestones. It is increasing production. it's making progress on that front, and that's something for investors to be encouraged about. But for me and my tastes, it's still too speculative for me to recommend this stock as a buy. So I would say for 2024, for me, Rivian stock is not a buy. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.